Hi, I'm Anne. Last Christmas, my sister stood, clinked her glass, and said, "We voted, you're cut off." Everyone nodded like it was nothing, like they hadn't been draining my bank account for years. Therapy bills, a wedding I paid for, a fake hospital scare, and when I finally walked away, they still came back asking for more. How do you go from not family to being their only lifeline? You ever wonder what happens when the family fixer finally says enough? Let me show you. I showed up with a bottle of Cabernet, even tied a bow on it, like an idiot thinking this year might be different. Rossini's porch light flickered as I rang the bell. Pine and cinnamon hit me as Mom's voice carried through the hall. "Anne's here," she called, sweet as poison. Inside, it was picture perfect, fire crackling, lights glowing, never shook a gift box by the tree. Dad didn't bother standing. Rossini smiled like a hostess on camera. "You're early," she said. "Must be nice, no kids, no real responsibilities." I set the wine down. "Better early than dramatic," I replied. She didn't laugh. Dinner was staged like a magazine spread. Perfect food, folded napkins, fake cheer. No one asked how I'd been. No one mentioned my promotion. They were waiting. And then it came. Rossini rose with her glass, that victory red lipstick shining. "Before pie, some honesty," she said. "We voted, you're no longer part of this family." At first, I thought I misheard, but Mom nodded, buttering her roll. It was bound to happen sooner or later. Cale stared at his plate. Todd clinked his glass. "It's for your own good." Never giggled. Dad muttered, "This tension isn't healthy," without looking at me. It didn't feel like knives. It felt colder, like standing outside in a storm with no coat, no door opening. I breathed, reached into my coat pocket, set a thick folder on the table. The dull thump cut their laughter short. "What's that?" Rossini asked, smirk twitching. "Since we are being honest," I said, "I came prepared." She grabbed it, flipping through. Her smile collapsed. Bank transfers, receipts, screenshots, a timeline of every call, every plea, every lie. Then page 23, Charleston, 2 nights, 1 room, her name, someone else's, Lena. She shoved the folder back like it burned. "You psychopath, you've been spying." I didn't flinch. "No, I've been documenting. There's a difference." Cale pulled the folder closer, flipping through the pages. His lips moved, but nothing came out. Finally, my mother broke the silence. "How dare you weaponize your help like this?" I met her eyes, calm, colder than I'd ever been. "You called it help, but to you, I was an ATM, a therapist, a guilt sponge." I stood, legs trembling but steady enough. "You said I wasn't family. Fine, then maybe you won't need your fallback anymore." No one answered. Rossini's glass tilted in her hand. Never asked if the game was still on. I grabbed my coat and headed for the door. No tears, no begging, just me, leaving them to sit in the storm I'd finally turned loose. The cold hit hard as I stepped outside. The door didn't slam. It clicked shut, almost polite. Even the house seemed done with them. I made it halfway to the street when Rossini's voice split the night. "You think you're better than us? That folder proves you're obsessive. Sick." I didn't turn, but I heard the folder slam against a wall. Papers scattered like sparks catching dry grass. "You're a damn parasite, Anne," she screamed. Then silence, then Cale's voice, "Who the hell is Lena?" That stopped me. I turned just enough to see him at the window, folder in hand, eyes digging instead of skimming. "Don't do this here," Rossini snapped, her confidence bleeding out. I said, "Who is Lena?" Cale's tone stayed low, steady. He never had to shout. Mom jumped in. "This isn't the time or place." "The hell it isn't," Cale shot back. "You wanted honesty. You all clapped. Now we are being honest." I leaned against the mailbox and listened to the perfect holiday night crack. "She's a friend," Rossini muttered. Cale read aloud, his voice a blade. 3 nights, Ocean View Suite, Charleston, signed, Rossini Adams and Lena Quinn. "A friend, huh? She was helping me with a project." "Stop, just stop." His voice broke just enough to betray the fracture. "You lied to me, you lied to her." I didn't need to watch. I knew that tone, the quiet snap of a marriage splitting open. Leaning on the mailbox, I pulled out my phone. My hands trembled, not from the cold. A new voicemail, unknown number. I pressed play. MS, Adams, this is Ewan from Marlow Fisher. Your father asked me to reach out regarding the family trust. He said you recently revoked certain authorizations. He'd like to discuss fallback options. I hung up. The phone buzzed again instantly. Same number. MS, Adams, Ewan said when I answered. Sorry to catch you like this. Your father insisted. He believes you still listed on several fallback clauses as power of attorney. Not anymore, I said flatly, and ended the call. It was final. Well, Ewan went on, he insists unless you manually update Clause 14b, some assets still funnel through you. He's asking for a meeting. I let out a laugh, short, sharp, humorless. Tell him I don't hold that power anymore, and even if I did, I wouldn't use it. Understood. Shall we notify him in writing? No, let him stew. I ended the call. The street was quiet, except for a plastic reindeer 2 houses down, its red nose blinking like a cruel joke. Behind me, the house was silent too, not peaceful, just stunned. I didn't look back. I couldn't. Seeing their faces now would mean watching the fallout, and I'd already lived long enough choking on their ashes. My hands were steady, my breathing even. They hadn't broken me tonight, they'd only confirmed what I'd always known. I didn't walk toward anything, just away from that house, that table, that wreckage they still called family. The cold stripped the adrenaline from my veins, until the ache in my chest dulled into something bearable. When I reached the car, I drove. Not home, just forward, past streets glowing with Christmas lights, past cracked pavement that hadn't changed in decades. Until my tires crunched onto the gravel shoulder of the lake, Dad's favorite spot, back when peace meant something I hadn't yet learned to mistrust. The water was flat glass under the moonlight, still, untouched. I killed the engine and let the silence wrap me. I used to come here for clarity, before deadlines, overdraft fees, and the endless parade of just one more favor, before they learned I was the one who never said no. But the memories came anyway. Dad, calling at dawn, dental work wasn't covered, just a little help, honey, as if I'd offered first. Mom's bill, racked up on a card in my name, just this once, whispered like a secret between allies. Rossini's therapy in California that turned out to be energy healing with a life coach. I wired the money, hoping maybe, for once, it was real. Never's tuition, Senna's voice over the phone, we wouldn't ask. But the scholarship didn't come through. You know how tight things are. Every time, the same ending, my account lighter, my breath shorter, and their silence heavy with expectation. Only you can help. You're the smart one. You have the good job. We don't. Gratitude, when it came, was thin, empty, the kind of thanks that wasn't thanks at all, just a placeholder, until the next request. And I said yes, again and again. Until tonight. Once, at Never's birthday, I brought her a book I'd loved as a kid. Rossini glanced at it, then at me, and muttered, I guess we all give what we can. They used to call me the backbone of the family. What they really meant was the mule, the one carrying everything until I couldn't stand anymore. I blinked back into the present, knuckles white on the steering wheel. My phone lit up, a memory. 3 years old, Dad in a hospital bed, pale, pitiful. Mom's caption read, "We're at the ER, don't know how long he has, please come." I remembered the panic, cancelling meetings, flying home, heels still on my feet as I rushed through the hospital doors. I expected machines, monitors, tubes. Instead, I found him watching football, grumbling about cold soup. Oh, they were just being cautious, Mom said, waving it off, better safe than sorry. Safe, sure. I sat in the waiting room afterward, staring at a vending machine, realizing their emergencies were never emergencies. I wasn't the daughter, I was the contact, the fixer, the fallback. I shut off my phone and stepped out of the car. The wind off the lake stung my face, but I let it. For the first time all night, I wasn't angry, or sad. I was finished. They never needed me, they needed what I could give, and I gave too much. 3 days slipped by in silence. I barely left my apartment except to walk the dog. Asheville had turned bitter, the kind of cold that cracked skin and sank into bone. The lake hadn't given me answers, but at least it hadn't asked anything of me. Then Senna texted, "Let's meet, just us, no pressure." I stared at the message too long. First instinct, delete it. Second, what do you want now? But curiosity is a fool, and I listened. I chose a cafe on the quiet side of downtown. Public, safe, no family audience. She was already there, bundled in a cream coat, hands wrapped around a latte gone cold. "I'm glad you came," she said softly. I didn't take off my scarf. "Let's not waste time." Senna gave a tight smile. About Christmas, it wasn't what it looked like. I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, did someone hack your voice and make you say I wasn't family?" She flinched. It was the heat of the moment. "Rossini was pushing. And you went along with it," I cut in. She didn't deny it. Instead, she slid a manila envelope across the table. My stomach sank. "What is that?" "Paperwork, legal stuff, power of attorney. Dad wants you reinstated. We thought, maybe if we handled this first, it would be easier to talk." I didn't touch it. "So this is what you meant by no pressure." We're tired," she whispered. "You've always been the capable one. You understand this. We were scared." I leaned forward, voice low. "You don't get to cut me out, then put me back in when it's convenient. It's not like that." I shoved the envelope back. "It's exactly like that. You clapped when Rossini made her little speech. You toasted my absence, and now you're here because Dad's scared of losing the trust." She said nothing. "I'm not your legal shield anymore, and I'm sure as hell not your emotional one." I stood and left her with the envelope, latte stone cold. That night, sleep wouldn't come. My phone buzzed. "Kale, I owe you an apology. I saw what Rossini was doing for years and I said nothing. I told myself staying quiet was neutral. It wasn't. It made it worse." Another ping. "You weren't crazy, you were just alone." I stared at the screen. Kale, the one who always stayed out of it, the family's Switzerland, finally speaking. My fingers typed "thank you," then deleted it. I lay in the dark, ceiling cracks weaving into patterns while silence pressed heavier than ever. The screen lit up again. Rossini, no greeting, no punctuation, just, "You've gone too far. If something happens to Mom or Dad, it's on you." I stared at the screen for a full minute, waiting for more context, clarification, even a fake apology. Nothing came, just that one line, concern sharpened into threat, a blade aimed at guilt. I didn't reply. I walked into the kitchen, flicked on the light, and poured a cup of coffee that tasted like metal. My hand trembled, not with fear but with pressure, something breaking loose under my skin. When I set the mug down, a hairline crack splintered through the ceramic. They didn't want reconciliation. They wanted a reset button. They wanted the old me, the one who shut up and paid up, who swallowed insults and kept peace by erasing herself. That version was gone. By 9, I'd drafted 5 different replies to the family chat and deleted them all. None fit, so I hit record instead. "My voice doesn't shake anymore," I said. "I am not your villain, I am your consequence." I let the words settle before continuing. 4 years, I stayed silent because I thought family mattered more than truth. I absorbed the jabs, the manipulation, the financial black hole you turned me into. I told myself you were struggling, but I see it now, you weren't struggling, you were feeding. I paused, steady. "I won't play the scapegoat anymore. If you smear me, threaten me, or twist this back, I'll go public with everything, every receipt, every recording, every document. I'm not bluffing." Send. No theatrics, just clarity. The silence afterward felt almost loud. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed. Branwyn. I didn't know it was that bad. I frowned, certain she meant someone else. Another message followed. "I'm sorry for clapping. I thought it was, like, a show, not real." Then, Rossini said if I didn't support the vote, I was choosing sides, And Mom told me you'd already decided to leave. I felt cornered. I read her words 3 times, not a full apology, but not poisoned with an ask either, the closest thing to honesty I'd gotten in years. If you want me to speak out, I will. I didn't answer. Not yet. Trust wasn't instant, but something in me loosened, just a notch. That night, I sat alone at my kitchen table. The only sounds were my breath and the tick of the thermostat. My hands shook, not from fear, but release, the relief of finally speaking, of finally being heard. Maybe I was never quiet, I whispered into the room, maybe they just never listened. The next morning, I woke to silence again, but this time it felt lighter, empty, not heavy. I started moving on instinct, packing, stacking, boxing pieces of a life I no longer owed anyone. No plan, just momentum. The words had left my mouth, and everything else had to follow. The last box landed with a dull thud by the closet. I didn't bother labeling. Essentials went into drawers, cabinets closed, air left clean. No family portraits, no heirlooms, no stitched signs insisting home is where the heart is. Just walls, blank, silent. And mine. I signed the lease 3 days after the blow-up and severed every tie I could name, new emergency contacts. No shared finances, legal notices filed and stamped. I changed passwords, moved accounts, stripped Dad's name from the trust backups they assumed I'd never notice. This time, I left nothing undone. On the counter sat a red sweater Mom had given me one Christmas, folded too neatly to look casual, gold-threaded snowflakes, a tag stitched inside, "Love you always." That same year, she called me selfish for refusing to co-sign Toiva's loan. I dropped the sweater at a shelter on my way to the grocery store. My phone buzzed. One last time, I opened the family thread and typed. "My number stays the same, but you'll never reach who I used to be." Then I blocked them all, every last one.